For the first time in Bears history, we have a new head coach mid-season. And on top of that, he wasn't even a coordinator to start the season. Thomas Brown has been promoted twice in just the last month, from passing game coordinator to offensive coordinator to head football coach. Maybe this was Ryan Poles' backup plan all along. Today, I wanted to tell you everything you needed to know about Chicago Bears' newest coach, his coaching background, what others around the league think about him, and so much more. Let's go ahead and get right into it. The Bears' new head coach is Thomas Brown, a former star running back at the University of Georgia and now an up and coming young coach in the NFL. He's a guy who clearly understands that we need to run the football, but he's already showcased an acumen for developing quarterbacks and installing passing attacks as well. No matter how these next 5 games go, Thomas Brown has a bright future ahead of him in the NFL. The comparisons to Mike Tomlin are too much to not mention. First, let's go ahead and briefly talk about his coaching history. I've covered his background before, but I wanted to quickly mention it again. He was Georgia's fifth all-time leading rusher in college before being drafted in the 6th round by the Atlanta Falcons. His coaching career started back at Georgia, but he spent a few different years bouncing around as a running backs coach before becoming the Miami Hurricanes offensive coordinator, calling plays for 3 years down in South Beach. Since then, he came to the NFL and worked directly underneath Sean McVay as the Rams' assistant head coach. That is where he would win a Super Bowl before departing to Carolina to help the Panthers develop Bryce Young. Things did not work out well there, but Brown got to work with another #1 overall pick this year in Caleb Williams, and he's helped develop him and stabilize this offense. Brown was initially hired as our passing game coordinator. He was first promoted to be the offensive coordinator and then the head coach in just a matter of weeks. One of the biggest points I want to make is I believe he has an awesome relationship with Caleb Williams, and the relationship of our head coach and our franchise quarterback cannot be overlooked. One of the best things about Thomas Brown is he is an egoless play caller. This is a coach that players respect. When he speaks, they listen. He commands their attention, and it's almost impossible to not notice some comparisons to Mike Tomlin when it comes to his demeanor. He has been known to be an egoless play caller, and that represents his coaching style. He isn't trying to prove he's smarter than anyone, and he doesn't care about his own ego. He cares about putting his players in the best position to succeed and get the most out of their talents. That's a lesson that Matt Nagy and Luke Getsy could surely learn from. And this segues perfectly into my next point. His ties to Sean McVay have been noted, but McVay took a long time to praise Brown this week after he got promoted to be the Bears' newest head coach. I'm going to read the comments from the Rams coach about our newest head coach, Thomas Brown. This is from Sean McVay. He has always been a guy that has had incredible command. He's been a great competitor. He kind of demands respect from people he's around just by the way that he carries himself. Anytime these things come up, and I think Thomas did a great job of handling it, but when he got the opportunity to be the OC, he's done a great job, obviously, but it's unique in the manner which the circumstances have come about. But he's going to attack it. I think guys will follow his lead. In this profession, you just have such an appreciation for how challenging that is, how difficult, how volatile, and I think he's doing a great job. I would imagine if he hasn't already done a press conference in such a classy way that he would handle it. These aren't necessarily the circumstances that you want to occur. I know how much respect he has for Coach Eberflus, but he is a guy that guys have heard me talk about him. We got a chance to work together for a few years, but I got a chance to compete against him as well. There are certain people that when you watch them, you're like, man, they're a little different in terms of their competitiveness, the spirit, the never say die attitude, and then just his overall presence in general is impressive. I know how much respect he has for Coach Eberflus. And like I said, I think in a good way to articulate this is he commands respect by the way he handles himself, and he gives it back. I always thought that he was a guy that would be a head coach at some point. I think you guys will be impressed. not necessarily impressed. You know how good of a coach he is and a good leader, and I'm happy for him and the opportunity. It is unfortunate at which the circumstances at which you're getting that. Nothing but glowing reports from Sean McVay on our newest head coach, Thomas Brown. Also, on top of the comments from McVay, future Hall of Fame left tackle Andrew Whitworth shared some similar comments about him, saying he's always known Thomas Brown was going to be a head coach, and he called him an offensive minded Mike Tomlin. Now, listen, nobody's saying that Thomas Brown is Mike Tomlin, but I think a lot of us see those same characteristics. It doesn't mean he will have the same success in the NFL, but those characteristics are there. But moving on even further, I made a video on it last week, but the difference in this offense since Shane Waldron left has been staggering. Thomas Brown has gotten so much more out of these players, and the offense seems to have an identity and some rhythm after 3 straight performances that dwarfed what Waldron was doing. The results have simply been staggering. We're averaging nearly 100 more yards per game, more rushing yards, a lot more passing yards, and converting nearly double the third down conversions. On top of that, Caleb Williams is playing more confident. He's getting rid of the ball quicker, and he's throwing for nearly 300 yards a game with Thomas Brown calling the plays. The biggest indicator of success, though, are that we are converting more third downs. This is a sign of a good play caller, and after just 3 games, Thomas Brown looks better than anything we've had in a while. The stats on the screen are comparing Thomas Brown's 3 games as Chicago Bears offensive coordinator against Shane Waldron's 8. It's important to not get too excited as it is just a small 3 game sample size, but we can't take anything away from how great of a job Brown has done so far. He took over mid-season and he had minimal time to prepare, yet he has not made any excuses. He's simply gotten results. And so far, he's done a great job with whatever he's been tasked with. Are we putting too much on his plate right now? There's only one way to find out. But this is a guy that most people expect to be a head coach at some point in the NFL. He gets his first experience and opportunity now with the Chicago Bears. Before we get too carried away with potential head coaches, I think Thomas Brown deserves a fair shot here. He's done a remarkable job in his 3 games as offensive coordinator, and now he gets 5 games as head coach of the Chicago Bears to show us what he can do. And on top of that, it's 5 games against playoff caliber opponents in the NFC. This is the definition of being thrown into the fire. 1 game against each of the NFC North teams, and then you also have the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. How will Thomas Brown and these players respond? That, along with Caleb Williams' development, are 2 of the biggest things to watch the rest of this season. And I, for one, am excited. I do believe the Bears probably have the most sought after head coaching position in the NFL this offseason, but I also believe that Thomas Brown has earned this opportunity and he could actually be a better option than all of the names being rumored by the media. Let's give him his chance and see what he can do down the stretch. Thomas Brown, I, for one, am rooting for you. Let me know how you feel about Thomas Brown, the newest head coach of the Chicago Bears. Remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. And until next time, bear down.